Good evening, everyone. I am DH Stom, and welcome to SpeedGaming Network. We've got a special for you tonight. We have a very special exhibition match between Matrick and Knight 2. Not our scheduled race, unfortunately. Some things do happen. But because of this, we're not going to be doing our Crystalis flag, Swiss round flags. Instead, we're absolutely going to be doing some very advanced flags. You're going to see some fun stuff tonight. And I am joined by Steve Hacks, who is also the primary developer of the Crystalis randomizer.
Howdy.
Yeah. So Steve is going to be able to tell us a lot about what we're seeing, a lot of the logic for some of these flags, and just hopefully can guide us on this crazy journey. All right. And we are off in 2, 1, go. Did we go? All right, here we go. We're gonna get money from Zebu. All right, just a second, folks. Let's see here. All right, this game moves fast. So right away, you're gonna see they got their orb of water. Let's see. Okay. And so I'm trying to still work out a few kinks on the tech end. I apologize for that. So one of the things that you'll see in this is that if you're familiar with the vanilla game, a lot of the items don't actually share the same name as the vanilla game. There's a pool of item names that they pulled in. There's still keys, so you see that bronze key that does represent one of the keys that's going on. So the race flags on this, it's not a small amount. So there's a lot going on here. The maps are randomized. The trade items are randomized. The key items are unidentified, as you saw. So that key, you don't know what it goes to. The elements to break walls are randomized. All of the items and traps are shuffled together. All the monsters are randomized. The weaknesses are randomized. The tower robots are even randomized in there. You're going to have different shop contents. Barrier and battle magic are not guaranteed for the hard mode, so you might have to get through there. The end boss, who, if you've played the vanilla game, is kind of a joke, is no longer a joke in this version. It's going to take a little bit more effort. And then you're just going to see a lot of things. The story mode is on, so what that means is that you have to kill every single boss in the game and get every sword in order to unlock Dragon 2 in order to get to that tower. XP absolutely does play a role in this. So Steve, if you can talk to exactly how the XP system works in the randomizer compared to what the vanilla game is, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, so the trick with randomizing a game like this is that in vanilla, the whole thing scales just multiplicatively, exponentially. The longer you go on, enemies are just so much harder. And so if you're level 16, you go back to Leaf, you kill everything in one shot. And if you're level 1 and you try to go anywhere else, you're killed in one shot and you can't touch anything. So what we do is we actually scale up all of the monster difficulties, and everything basically scales up with the number of items you've got. So if you look at the screen there, right next to the levels, this number is 3 and 4. and that says the number of key items or unique items that the players have picked up, and that tells their scaling level, and it scales from 0 to 47, and that scales up the monsters. Attack, defense, hit points, as well as the gold and experience that they drop. It also scales the shop prices. Items get more expensive as the game goes on, except for armors, which actually get cheaper, and you can think about kind of the economics of that if you want.
Yes, that's it. So like I said, you see that number next to their level, that is the number of major items that you've got. So as they find those, the game gets both easier and also more expensive.
In terms of armor, it's very unlikely you're going to see either of these players stepping into an armor shop throughout the entire game.
It's true. I see a Sword of Wind pickup for Matrick. And a hazmat suit.
So the hazmat suit is what you might remember as the gas mask. We changed the leather boots into speed boots, which is a great item to speed things up. But of course, the leather boots also have their own effect of letting you walk on kind of the poison tiles without getting hurt. And we felt that was a little too overpowered, and so we kind of moved that power over to the gas mask. So now gas mask is great for any sort of terrain, whether it be the swamp or kind of the marsh tiles.
Alright, when you hear that ping, especially if you play the vanilla game, you know that you have the wrong sword for that enemy. So obviously, number one thing in these flags, the enemy's weakness is randomized. It's not what you remember. Another thing, compared to the vanilla game, is that you're still doing damage. It's 1 hit point of damage, so you can actually still kill things even if you don't have the right sword. I see Matrick is fighting the vampire, going through this first cave. Another thing with this flag set, I don't believe you need the orbs, the balls, in order to actually break down walls. So that makes getting those progression unlocks a lot faster.
That's right. Interestingly, it also tends to make it so that you don't get the orbs or bracelets until much later, because the logic doesn't need to give it to you. Normally, it needs to give you at least a sword and a ball right off so you can get anywhere. And so it's actually kind of more of an advanced flag, it turns out.
That makes perfect sense. It's also very powerful because of how swords and the orbs and the bracelets work in Randomizer. So all of the damage has actually been equalized. A level 1 sword for all 4 swords is actually the exact same amount of damage, and then the amount of damage increases as you get the orbs and the bracelets. Horn of Plenty coming on Night Dew's side. As you saw, one of the tower robots in there. One of the fun flags allows those to be out in the world.
I've got to be honest, I set up a tracker for each of these to track what they're doing and what's open for them, but with these randomized items, I got no idea what it is.
Yep. It's also much harder to glance and say, like, oh, I know exactly what cave they're in. If you didn't see which way they came in, it's not always as obvious in this flag set. So both Steve and I had been very much preparing for the Swiss flag set. So this is a surprise to us as well, but hang in there, we'll get you through this.
Have you spoken to the randomized maps yet?
I said they exist, but you have much larger knowledge of what that means. So how does that work in this game right now?
Yeah, so you may recognize, or not recognize rather, that these maps are not what you're used to. If you've seen this game before, we recently started playing with randomizing the maps, and so basically we do full map generation for about half of the caves in the game. You see right there, Matrick just jumped right into Oak. He had to find his way through the swamp. It certainly makes the gas mask much more important for getting through there when you're wandering around taking damage, trying to do it without a gas mask.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
and so
it's been really interesting to kind of see what happens when you randomize these things, because think places that used to be blocked by walls now just aren't, and so you really have to think really differently than you're used to, figuring out what might be open due to the randomized maps.
oh, Matrick wants to fight. Let's see. So by the way, there's an NPC in this game called Stom, which is quite legitimately where I got my handle from, which has been also a topic of much entertainment within the Crystalis randomizer community.
Yeah, you'll see Matrix just laying down on the floor here.
Yeah, no, I've won the first 2 fights. It's like he's not even trying. And that's because if you play the vanilla game, you know that every time I win a fight, I get much easier to beat the next time. And it's faster to just go ahead and let me win the first couple. But Matrix was very polite before the tournament match was going to start, and he said that he was going to try and talk to me as much as possible during the race. I'm not sure if he is meaning that in the most friendly way as possible, considering potential ramifications in the future. We'll just take it as a polite thing for now.
Yeah, no spoilers here. So we'll see now actually Matrick entering this east cave, and you won't recognize it again because it's been randomized from the Game Boy Color edition of the game, and Night Dew's entering it as well now. This actually has one chest that has normally an alarm flute, so they'll find the chest upstairs somewhere, and then there's 2 exits on the downstairs, one down to the Valley of Wind and one to Portoa. And actually, they've already been through there once, haven't they?
They have indeed. Also a note, something new for this randomizer, the alarm flute's not found in shops. There is a single item, it's a major item now, that handles all of the alarm flute scenarios in the game. The same is true for the Flute of Lime. There's now only one of those, and it is used for all of the statues.
Yeah, that was also an idea borrowed from the Game Boy Color version.
Yes. Fortunately, there's a lot of bad ideas that we do not borrow from the Game Boy Color version, because they tried to do some things that, maybe we just shouldn't go there.
Yet. Wait till we get the digitized voices.
Pass?
Oh, come on. You know you want a sort of chunker.
No comments.
So Matrix checking out Rage.
Rage has checked out Matrick.
Well, yeah. Among the flags was randomized trade-ins, and part of what that means is that Rage is no longer looking for the Sword of Water. There's some random sword that he wants, and they're going to find out what that is. But it's not Sword of Wind, it turns out.
It is not. So I'll have to check on that every once in a while. Not only does Rage have an item, we have no idea if that's going to be important or not, but Rage is also standing in front of that portal to talk to Messia, which is a trigger for other things in the game. So here we see Matrick pulling off a statue glitch, something that is actually even potentially required in the logic for this seed, where you're able to kind of sneak behind an NPC or even a statue that's blocking your way, by kind of just talking to the continuously, and it shifts where your character sprite is. So it's one of the first glitches that you'll learn if you want to start running this, and it's so easy even I can do it. And the noise you just heard is one that fills most racers with dread. Because what that means is that you spawned in an enemy that has a flail. And it can use that to reach you in annoyingly long spaces, and it's very hard to get around. It hasn't popped up yet. But yeah, every time you hear it, you're just like, oh no. Next. And Matrick has and Night Dew have both now found the Blizzard Bracelet, and are now making their way. Let's see. Well, Night Dew has gone to Bryn Mawr, And Matrick is going in. What's that? The back door to? Oh, that's Zebu's cave. Okay.
So behind Zebu, you'll see an odd-colored wall. That is we've randomized the elements required to break the walls, and that one requires a sort of thunder, which they don't have yet.
Yes. And Matrick is now going into the cave that leads to the windmill. Had that alarm flute pick up earlier. And by talking to Zebu, you have to. That's a trigger for this lazy person to appear. And they had telepathy, one of our 8 spells.
So telepathy is going to open up Oak for 2 items. They're going to go and find the lost kid, who could be anywhere in this swamp. So they're going to be wandering around a little bit. It also potentially opens up Mount Saber North. Requires telepathy and teleport. That was a pretty quick find there by Matrick.
Yeah, that was nice.
But that's possibly where the logic is leading. Now they have both teleport and telepathy.
Yeah, so Mount Saber North, to find that, they found flight. Matrick has found flight in Oak, and that is going to open up this game pretty big. To open up Mount Saber North is actually complicated because you actually have to find all the triggers to... everyone in Leaf has to be kidnapped, which I believe that means you have to open up that wall behind Zebu, correct?
That's right. Or you can go the other direction and possibly find a way out without doing that.
That's
so
true.
Assuming he can get to Bryn Mawr, which you can through the vampire cave.
Absolutely. So you can get there, and then you have to talk to a rabbit in Leaf, and then you have to have the teleport spell. If you've got all those things done, the game will logically let you enter the front of Mount Saber North.
Doesn't look like Matrick's interested in doing that at the moment.
It's not terribly surprising. With Flight, traditionally you just want to try and get as far into the game as you can, progression-wise.
I know what he's doing here.
Oh, is he going to try and skip?
We'll have to see about this.
Well, he seems to be thinking at the moment.
I don't think he's thinking.
Oh! He beat the system.
So this is a new glitch I discovered a few days ago.
Fresh off the presses glitch. By allowing an enemy to hit you to the side, Rage can't hit you out, and you can fly and trigger that. That is clever.
So without the sword that Rage wanted, he's now triggered the whole sequence with the Queen going into the back room, which opens up 2 items.
Yes. And with Flight, that's also going to open up that back path, is it not? Or I guess they already had that.
With Statue Glitch, it was already open.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. So, thing about the Flight spell is, you can fly over water, and it doesn't care if you run out of magic while you're mid-flight. You can keep on flying. You only need to have magic in order to initiate flight, which means that you can actually go for a nice long flight trip all the way across this area and basically cheat your way over the entire trap that this is set for you. Typically, you have to go and fight Sabera, and you have to get, a gold statue in order to clear up a whirlpool, and then you can go through there. Well, Matrick can just fly all the way to the other end.
Well, they are on latest flags, latest version, which means that Evil Spirit is actually blocked on the Dolphin. That's not something we mentioned earlier, because it wasn't explicitly called out in the flags, but that's a change we're making in some of the newer versions.
Interesting. Yeah.
The idea being that the cave is underwater, so you can't fly into it. You need a dolphin to swim you in.
That makes sense. But you can reach... my brain just farted on...
So he picked up change out of the little dolphin cave area, underground passage, which has opened up Goer Valley for him.
Yep.
Turns out, though, that his sequence break wasn't actually helpful.
Yes. Yep, so, and that was Swan. He didn't come talk to me. I thought he was going to be more polite than that, but you can't complete that entire segment unless you also had the love pendant, or whatever it's called in this, with the names of items being randomized. Oh, look at that. We've got Warlocks. Warlocks are so fun.
I do see a lot of racers going right in to talk to Storm right away in the Hut and Swan. I'm
Yeah.
not actually a good idea because
Yeah.
in a lot of feeds you never get that love pendant, and so it was just a waste of time. And
That's
you got to
true.
go around there anyway when you do get it.
Absolutely. So I'm not terribly surprised if you followed Matrick at all and know his racing style. You know that when he gets flight, he's going to try and go to Pyramid basically right away, and it looks like he is definitely headed that way now.
The pyramid, if you also count Dio and the meadow on the way, opens up 4 items. There's
Yeah.
1 chest and then 2 from beating the boss, which is he's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Pushover is what I was looking for.
Absolutely a pushover, he is. You also trigger that Sahara, so you can always warp there right away. It's also really convenient to get to the Oasis Cave, the back door to the Goa Fortress, and there's a lot of items waiting there when the time comes.
You'll notice Matrick going back and forth in these staircases. What's happening here is that these stairs are actually randomized, and so a lot of what we're trying to do and shoot for with the randomizer is to kind of capture the essence and the feel of the game that you might have felt the first time you played it, but you're so used to it that it's kind of in the back of your hand and you already know everything, so how are you going to get that again? And really the feel of this temple was this is giant labyrinth, and you walk around it, you don't know where you're going, you walk into stairs and who knows where you are. And so that's what happens now, is the stairs are completely random, and they're not even symmetric. So if you walk in one stair and out the other, you may not actually be where you started.
Yes, but Matrick seems to have found the right magic staircase. Is going to fight Dragon 1, and don't blink. I'm surprised it's taken this long.
He's only got a level 1 sword, and he's level 3, so it
That's
might
true.
take a few tries, a few passes.
That's very true. Meanwhile, Knight 2, who, keep in mind, has not actually done that skip. Oh! Got caught. So he's going to give that another try. The way that this game works, that when you lose, it'll go take you back to a checkpoint. But it's legitimately a checkpoint, keeping you at the exact same health and magic you were at before. It does remove your status effects. It's a really nice thing that racers will take advantage of quite blatantly, is to go ahead and reset to remove some of those status effects. Knight 2 now taking a flight of his own. Matrick has now pulled off killing Dragon. And here's an item. I didn't see what it was. And I think that was one of the statues that he just got from Ashura. And so yeah, you can tell these are definitely very advanced. And if you've also played the vanilla game, one thing that you might not realize, wait a second, is the vanilla game was very, very, very hard, fast. You have to be a certain level to hurt certain enemies. That has been completely relaxed with the randomizer. You can kill anything basically from any level, and the top end, racers absolutely take advantage of this. It's also not terribly hard to start leveling up if you want to play this more casually, which I definitely recommend. I am nowhere near the level of skill that these runners are at, but I've been having a blast with this. It does help to know the vanilla game, though. I will say that. Oh, Matrick picks up Bow and Moon. That is one of the 3 required bows. So if you happen to come back for one of our Swiss round tournament matches, story mode is actually not required for those. In those matches, all you need are the 3 bows and flight and a sword. And in the Swiss round tournament seeds, you're guaranteed a sword at the beginning. So some of those matches would actually be very, very, very fast because you just happen to run across everything really quickly. And then you get straight into the tower. Matrick finding one of his best friends, a mimic chest. Steve, the Oasis Cave randomized yet? Or is it one of the ones that is not?
Not yet, sadly. The caves with rivers are a little bit tougher to do, so we only do 2 of them. 3, actually, I guess. So all but the Oasis Cave. I've got some great ideas for it. I just haven't had the time to put it into practice yet.
No worries, my friends. We look forward to more and more fun as this continues to grow at a very, very fast pace. The amount of stuff that you guys have been putting into it at this pace has been quite amazing. All right. Matrick is now going to go ahead and explore the back door into Goa Fortress. So if you play the vanilla game, typically in the city of Goa, you use a Sword of Thunder to break open the front gate, and you have to go through a huge gauntlet of all the bosses again, all different kinds. It's basically kind of like this big end game-ish place. There's still a lot of game after that, but it's meant to be this major thing. And at the end of it, you get flights, and then you're able to go out this back door, and it leads you to the Oasis area and kind of the next part of the game. Obviously, Randomizer, more often than not, you actually come in the back door, is what I've seen.
Yeah, anytime you've got flight, it's an immediate 6 checks.
Unless Matrick picks up a Sword of Thunder, which then warps him to Chiron. It is both a hilarious, but also the bane of the existence of some of these runners. Sword of Thunder, in most flags, will automatically warp you to Chiron, and runners just love it, absolutely love it, when it comes up right at the beginning of when they're going to try and get a lot of items. So obviously, Matrick is not even going back to Goa Fortress yet. He's just going with the flow. Admittedly, in a practice seed earlier, this happened for him, and he found exactly what he needed to move forward.
So he's got flight and Sword of Wind, so he can actually get all the way through Mount Hydra at this point.
If it requires Sword of Wind, do we know that?
Oh, that's right. I'm not thinking in logic.
Yeah. All right. Matrick is in the Mount Hydra area, which leads to the Cave of Styxy. And yes, that is exactly what it's called. We believe that the localization meant it to be Styx, S-T-Y-X. But that's not what's in game. It's actually S-T-X-Y. Why, I don't know. But that's what it is, and so that's what we continue to call it. And Night 2 is checking out Goa, and then is, I think, headed south. Matrick picks up Paralysis. Doesn't open a ton, but a couple of checks.
It might open up Kensu and Swan, depending on what item he wants.
That's true.
Interestingly, I don't think he's run across a single wall yet.
Yet another thing that can happen in these flags.
And there he is breaking his first Thunder Wall. So that does tell him that he's going to be able to get all the way through this cave. Yep. Since the walls are consistent throughout an entire area.
Oh, Night 2 picked up Bow of Moon. I wonder if Matrick picked that up and we missed it, because it was just that south check in Oasis Cave.
Yeah, Matrick got it. And that was an interestingly vanilla, or French vanilla, mimic in that little bendy cave.
Indeed. Also picking up Deo's pendant, Night 2 does. So you gotta think that after Night 2 finishes cleaning up Oasis Cave, we'll probably go back into Goa Fortress as well, and probably be not terribly far behind Matrick, depending upon the order in which Night 2 picks up those chests in that area before Carmine.
So, of course, despite not having the Sword of Thunder, Night 2 does check this wall because the iron walls are randomized to take some unknown element independent of everything else in the area. with no tell as to what it is based on looking at it.
But it's consistent across the entire seed. Like all of the iron walls take the exact same thing. It's just randomized what it is, correct?
No, it's not. Each one is
It's
completely
not.
independent. So
Oh,
that makes
wow.
Go of Fortress quite fun. You never quite know if you're going to get all the way through it.
That is crazy, man. I'm for it.
Well, there's only 3 iron walls in Goa, I think. And, no, I guess there's a one that has a treasure chest behind it in Mado's area. And just the one outside, so it's about a total of 5.
Did I see a 12th location for teleport and boots?
You did see a 12th location.
Okay, it's not something I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, so we actually added Zombie Town to the list. I think that was also inspired by the Game Boy Color.
Okay. Let's see. And Night 2 finds the Sword of Thunder and gets the fun news. And Matrick is now returning to the back end of Goa Fortress.
Well, he's still got a handful of items to clean up out here.
Oh, absolutely.
Being 5 chests down underneath.
Yeah.
And then who knows what else, how far he can get.
Yeah.
And I assume he doesn't have any free or not yet identified items, or else he would have tried them on Kensu. Or maybe Kensu told him what he wanted. I didn't quite catch it. Oh, all right, okay. So he just doesn't. He knows he doesn't have that.
Yeah. All right. Both have too many items, and which is a sign it's a consumable. And that's just a mimic. Let's see, Night 2 looks like might be going back to Waterfall Cave. And did Matrick actually even try to go further in Goa Fortress?
He didn't. It was interesting that he didn't try to attack what's his name? Carmine, because he was right there.
Yeah.
He doesn't have barriers, so getting through the 4 statues is possibly difficult for him.
Yeah, and then he's not really in a great position to take on Mado 2 either. Does that make sense? Oh, found an ancient key in the bottom of Amazonas. I didn't see what he got off of change.
I see a question in chat. Does Matrick even know this game? He actually does know the game pretty well.
Yeah. I sensed a bit of sarcasm in that question, but yes, Matrick definitely knows the game. Let's see here. And able to open up some of this caves.
To the question about the hints, the randomized trade-ins are not always actually mentioned at all, and so sometimes you just have to try all your items. We see Boa's Sun on Night 2's side, so that's going to be helpful.
Absolutely.
I don't think Matrick's checked that spot yet, although maybe he's heading right in there.
So
can't tell which cave he's in.
Yeah, waterfall. So yeah, we'll actually get that now. It's interesting because that actually opens up the back of Pyramid. They can't fight Dragon 2 yet. I don't think they have Bow of Truth.
That's right. Well, also he won't spawn.
Right. But there are some items back there.
So we see Night heading back into the basement of Goa Fortress to pick up those extra items.
Makes perfect sense.
We'll see if he tries to go through these statues and fight Carmine. I'm hoping yes.
I hope so as well. Carmine's not the hardest boss. Not having barrier definitely hurts, both to get to Carmine, because you have to go through some of those statues. But
There's
then
Magic
after
picking
that,
up the bow.
yeah. Knight 2 picking up a mirror shield.
So the shield could, in theory,
advantage.
help getting through the statues.
Absolutely, yeah. For those that don't know how this works, just so you understand what armors and shields are, so they both have defensive capabilities for how much damage you take, and also can defend against different status effects, things like that. However, the armor is when you get physically hit, like directly by an enemy, and the shield is for any projectiles. So basically, it's just two completely different defense checks. So there's situations where you might have Psycho armor, the best, arguably best armor in the game, and no shield, and you can get banged around by enemies all day and take no damage, but then one shot can just take half your health. That's just how the game works.
So we do see Knight 2 going in to fight Carmine, and Matrick is diving the crypt, trading in those two bows to see those two checks that are on the way to Dragon 2, the final real boss.
Absolutely. It seems like Carmine is immune to both swords, so it might be a little bit of a battle. Yeah.
Looks like Knight 2 is going to try to tink him though. Although if he doesn't work, then he might probably just peace out.
Yeah, makes sense. So it is, as I said earlier, even if you don't have a sword that can damage them normally, every shot still does 1 damage.
That was a very interesting graphic we saw on Matrick's screen.
That was not the way it should have been.
Looks like I got some work cut out for me then.
Always something. Yeah, Knight 2 checking out the shops in Chiron. I'm going to pick up some warp boots. Not an uncommon thing when you don't have teleport yet. But Matrick does have teleport. Does Knight 2 not? I missed where that got picked up at. So.
Yeah, I could have sworn he did. I meant to write all this stuff down, but that hasn't happened.
With this flag set, things are just going to be happening so fast. It's difficult to keep up with everything. Matrick going back in the front of Pyramid.
I don't think he ever found the chest.
Oh, okay. He went straight. Yeah, he found the boss and didn't find the chest. That makes sense. Whereas Knight 2 is going to check out the rest of Mount Hydra.
It looks like he found it pretty quickly, fortunately.
Indeed.
Knight 2 heading up to the Cave of Styxy. See if he's got a key that opens it up. And looks like that's a yes.
It does. All right. So this is still technically not in logic. Well, no, that's right. Barrier's not required in this, so it could be in logic. Yeah, like I said, I've been studying those Swiss flags all week, and this is a whole different beast.
Yeah, and the Styxy entrance is actually the toughest. I think there's 7 statues there, and so that takes out quite a bit of the health. You got to bring a lot of healing.
Yeah, and then you're greeted by one of the flail guards. I'm sure they have a more official name.
Knight 2 disappointed that lysis plant was not a medical herb.
Yeah.
But he pays off with a Psycho Shield.
Absolutely, yes.
So this is the ultimate shield in the normal game. It turns out it's not actually the strongest shield here.
Cover spell.
That is a treasure trove right there.
Oh, yes.
So Barrier in Styxy is a tough one that you'll only see in this flag set because they chose to not have a guaranteed barrier for you.
Yeah. Oh, and they've got the towered helicopters, those evil drones in there.
Just to make it more fun.
They're the worst.
One
sliver of health. Yeah, I know.
So there's 6 checks in Styxy. 3 require flight, and the other 3 you can do on the left-hand side without flight. Although it's a lot easier to not forget the Bow of Truth right there in the axe spot.
Yes.
I was going to say, that is a spot that's really easy to forget because you walk all the way around and you have to go upstairs in this spot to get the vanilla bow, Sword of Thunder location. And then you don't want to walk back down to pick up that last little chest.
Yes.
So if you're going without flight, it's really easy to
absolutely.
forget it.
Yeah. So Gozen, we are in story mode flags. So while we are in bow mode, we are not actually in go mode. We still need to kill all the bosses and find the rest of the swords.
Yeah, there's 2 more swords to find.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that that sentry enemy from the tower was also in the randomized enemy set. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's a pretty fun one. Sometimes he'll sit right in front of one of those cave entrances and go back and forth.
Yeah. So for you guys who are actually playing this for the first time, trying it out, one thing to keep in mind is that for most of this, like for the Swiss round flags, and definitely for what they're doing here, all the mimic spots are also like shuffled into this. And the most popular flag set that you're going to find online, typically at Mike's RPG Center, is where a lot of people go for flags of this game, maps of this game rather. Don't actually mark those. So that's something that you're going to have to be very careful as you learn this game about where those mimic spots are. Granted, in this flag set where everything's randomized anyways, yeah, you have to know how many spots.
Yeah, it's not entirely randomized in that each map still has the same chests on it and the same directions of the stairs, and so there's a little bit of a base to come back to once you're familiar with all the rest of it.
Yep. Night do seeing if they might happen to have the right item for the leader of the Amazons, and it looked like that was a no.
Turns out you can actually check that one ahead of time if you know the trick.
Oh, really?
There's a special case in the code to see before it even gives you the "you can't use this item" error message if you're changed into a girl for the Carissa plant, and so we had to move that over to the whatever the randomized version of it is. And so if you try to use the item to turn in as a normal character unchanged, it will not do anything at all, no message or anything.
Yeah. Matrick taking on General Kilbask, and who seems to be weak to the Sword of Thunder, combined with that warrior ring he found. This not still complete. You know, there's some challenge here, but I would.
Well, Matrick hasn't found barrier yet.
That's true. Matrick has not actually gone into Stixie. And until he does, I'd say he's, well, obviously not going to even be able to finish the game. But he'll be able to finish this fight. Gets a level off of it. And Speed Boots, oh, a runner's best friend.
Slightly less good than it used to be, but still probably going to be his go-to item from now on.
Yeah. And still slightly better than Vanilla.
So speed boots increase your speed by 25%. Normally you go 2 pixels a frame, now you can go 2.5.
Yep. Along with still doing what they ordinarily do as leather boots, where basically any surface that would cause you damage doesn't.
No, that's not so anymore. So as of this, that's why the hazmat suit. People were a little put off by the idea of gas masks protecting you from things you walked in, so we made it into a whole suit.
Aha! Important items cannot be in Vendor's Ace. I don't think any flag set has that at this point, does it?
That's right. Vendors are only consumable items, and in fact, they also don't sell opal statues. There's only 3 of them in the game. They're now guaranteed not to be lost from talking to NPCs that give you consumables.
That's good, yeah.
But there's only the 3, and you cannot buy any more.
Night do finds paralysis. We have almost a full slate of spells at this point.
So if you're asking about average time saved, it's hard to say, but given that they are 25% faster, then you can imagine they'll do whatever they're going to do in 80% of the time.
Yeah, but obviously you're also giving up any kind of protection or utility of any other item you might want to equip. So, sometimes it's better to, go a little bit slower and have like that warrior ring so you can spam your level 1 power. Or if you have the power ring in a boss fight, something like that. So it's still very situational.
That's true, although there is a certain defensive element to it. I was very surprised the first time I used the speed boots to get through a boss fight.
No, I could see that being powerful. Naitu went all the way back to Mount Hydra to use flight to get across that path, and was rewarded with a medical herb. Not a good feeling. Matrick might do the same thing, but I'm guessing that he's probably finally going to Stixie. Yep. Gonna try out that key. And Matrick's gonna be very happy with what he finds. So at this point, let's see here. There's still a lot of swords. You know, half the swords are still missing, and there's still a lot of access that does block because of that. Just trying to think about where some of the where they haven't been that they could. I know I don't think either of them's been to Evil Spirit Island, have they?
That's right. They've got to find the dolphin for this seed in order to kill Sabera.
Ah, that's right. And have they done Mount North?
I believe Mount Saber is completely untouched still, both sides.
Okay, both sides completely untouched. So that's definitely an area that they could look at soon. And neither of them has tested to see if they can go further and go a fortress at this point.
That's right. There's some iron wall that that blocks Carmine's area from the rest of the fortress. And Matrick takes a death there. And it's possible they can get through that wall with one of the two swords. But it means once they do, they're immediately confronted with Mado 2 with a level 1 sword that may or may not actually hurt him.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take on Mado. It never goes well for me. Yeah, they're only missing one of those spells at this point. I didn't quite see which one it was.
Is it Refresh?
I think so.
That's right. So they have no healing beyond the opal statues or medical herbs that they might bring in.
Yeah, which is just one of the things that you might get dealt in this randomizer. You're used to the vanilla game. You have a lot of healing options early on. They give you refresh right away. Not always the case in this.
Well, there are flags that are a little bit friendlier than the current set in terms of that.
True. Yeah, and I wouldn't even, if you're starting off on this randomizer the first time, I would not even start with the Swiss flags. Definitely go with something easier to get used to this.
Yeah, we've got a few casual and intermediate flags that are a lot more approachable, even. Especially the ones that don't shuffle the mimics in, because you can then use whatever maps you want.
Exactly. And if you really want to get to your feel for this, be a lightweight, or in my case, when you wanted to test a lot of different Swiss logic very quickly, you can even toggle a flag where you don't die. It helps. It didn't protect against status effects, which could be somewhat annoying at times, but still not devastating. Especially considering how easy it is to get rid of status effects just by taking advantage of a checkpoint system. Or in some cases, when I'm paralyzed, I would get poisoned instead, since that wouldn't actually kill me. You can only have one status effect on you at a time in this game. So by getting a new status effect, you lose the last one. Ace, it was all in the name of studying for a race that we ended up not calling.
Well, so it goes. The not dying mode, of course, being a quick hack I put in because I'm also not particularly a great racer or runner or anything. So it's really helpful for testing things if I don't have to die. So Matrick talking to the guards to find out that Arillis, the queen, wants, I believe, the love pendant.
I always knew there was something going on between the queen and Tensu.
But, of course, they're not going to tell him that if he looks like a boy.
Yeah. Oh, Nightsu sees the secret door.
We're going to cash in that alarm
Oh,
flute.
no. All right, so Matrick has just initiated something that's really, really painful for me.
Yeah, this isn't going to go so well for you.
No. So early on in the game, once you get the Thunder Sword, you're able to go to the front of the Goa Fortress, and it triggers an event in Shyron. And yeah, let's just say not my finest hour.
Spoiler alert, everybody dies.
Yeah, spoiler alert too. I'm in that town. So Steve will be commentating the rest of the race whenever Matrick goes over there. No, I won't leave you hanging like that. Death won't stop me from running my mouth. And Matrick is just letting the tension build on that. Even going to talk to me here while I am okay. Before taking care of that. So he's doing a swan check where you have to track down Kensu and then give an item to Kensu. Oh, looks like he was after the copper statue, and that gives eyeglasses. I guess Nightdew had already done that since he used night glasses.
Yeah, so Kensu's one of the items, one of the ones where there's no hints anywhere what he actually wants.
Oh yeah. Well, you just try things then. And Nightdew going back to the waterfall cave to take advantage of that flute of lime. There's one extra item. They're getting a bit thin right now as far as trying to get access to stuff. They're trying to avoid that Mado 2 fight if they can. They can't get to Evil Spirit Island yet. So the number of checks that's in Logic is starting to dwindle.
Well, so Mado 2 may very well be in Logic. They don't actually know what sword he's weak to, and since they don't guarantee battle magic, the game may very well want them to fight Mado 2. Ha, look at Akahana walking through the wall. May want them to fight Mado 2 with Sword of Wind level 1.
Absolutely. Akahana won with stone at this point. But that key...
Normally, he's at the top of a vertical passage, and so it makes sense for him to walk down off the screen. But randomized maps and all.
Indeed.
Looks like Matrick's looking for the giant insect. He's got a spare flute that may or may not be the insect flute. It turns out it's not, unless he wasn't far enough up.
And
but I don't think Matrick would
use that key to open up the back of North. The brain fried Mount
Saber North, where he's confronted with a firewall or ember wall, which needs the sort of water to break, and he doesn't have that. So he is stuck.
Yes, he is. And looks like Nightdew is also about to initiate Operation Nap Time.
But find out that he sadly cannot break that wall to get into Goa Fortress 1.
Oh, but Nightdew is going straight there.
So while Mado 2 is not particularly appealing to fight with a level 1 sword, Mado 1 actually is quite a bit slower. Yeah, he still killed everybody.
Oh, he walked right by me.
That was very polite of him.
Yeah.
So it looks like Thunder's going to be a tink.
Nope. Yeah, and then...
and so is Wind.
Oh,
so Mado 1 is not in Logic right now.
Yeah.
So he's going to Wild Warp right out.
Yeah. So for those not familiar, Wild Warp is actually a glitch in the original vanilla game.
Or a debug feature.
It's a debug feature, yeah. So where you're able to warp around. So most of the flags, what we've done is disable that. But you can still use it to warp back to Leaf in order to have a quick exit and also to avoid soft locks.
There's also a fun mode that requires you to use Wild Warp and will randomize where it takes you. So if you're feeling particularly adventurous and Matrick finds a sort of fire, it looks like actually that Night Dew is there as well. So I should probably mark both of them off.
Okay, so that's going to be a lot of them going. They're going to have to re-look at a lot of different areas that they were not able to clear before. Night Dew finding out that Mado does not have a weakness to thunder. Is still using thunder though. Whereas Matrick is just going to go ahead and go straight through to the front door of Goa with that new fire sword, gets him through that wall.
So you'll notice that Goa 1 is a now completely different maze, and Matrick's going to use his pathfinding skills to see if he can find his way around it.
Yes, because this wasn't friendly enough. Let's randomize the... Well, wow. This... I would want to avoid this like the plague, personally. I would go in the back door and just go as far down as I could in order to avoid this front area.
Well, there's still the randomized Sabera area. Let me tell you, this was a fun one to write. I was very pleased getting this to work.
Naito is determined to use that sword, the Sword of Thunder and Warrior Ring, to take care of Mado, despite the fact that it's tanking.
Unfortunately, he's not doing it quite as efficiently as he could. If he can actually get really close when he lets it go, he can do 2 or 3 hits at once if all 3 lightning bolts hit Mado.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't have a Warrior Ring, does he? Or at least he's not using it.
Looks like Matrick has hopefully found the way up to Kelbesk. Unless... Oh, no. That wasn't it. Oh, here we go.
Possibly. Let's see.
Yeah, that's the way.
Yep. And here we get the vampire fight part 2. Oh no, this is Kelbesk 1. I'm sorry. The vampire 2 is in 6 or somewhere else.
So we've got a vanilla wind weakness, and Warrior Ring is of course the preferred way to kill Kelbesk 2.
Yep.
With barrier.
Oh, getting bodied, getting close. Oh, pulls it off.
And there is refresh, so we now have a good source of healing.
Yep. But Zebu is going to go ahead and completely fill your magic and hit points as you move up anyways, so not really a ton of reason to use it yet. Oh wow. And the first gate requires water.
And it looks like the entire area was blocked off on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does always happen, but with the randomized maps, anything can.
Indeed, yeah. So that was a lot of time spent to hit a pretty big block right away. I mean, refresh is not such a bad thing to have, but it's not progression. But he's going to go ahead and go back to that gate in the back door and see maybe can reach Mado too.
Yeah, it's quite possible Mado 2 is in logic and possibly could be the progression that they need.
Yeah. And I think that you alluded to this, but like the weaknesses between the first version and the second versions of the bosses are not necessarily the same.
That's right.
Yeah. So Thunder could be perfectly exactly what you need for Mado 2. Even if it's obviously not the weakness of Mado 1.
Yeah, so we know, but Matrick doesn't, that Wind and Thunder are not going to be the swords for Carmine, but he's going to go and find out if Fire is. Fire's not. Magic is going to tink him anyway.
Water. Yep.
Not to be deterred.
Yes. So
Earlier this week, Magic.
This is a perfect example of how much more powerful the warrior ring can be versus having to charge. Literally, all you have to do is spam the A button with a warrior ring, and you get those thunder shots.
That's right.
And there's a convincing argument about who's going to actually finish their fight first. I'm going to go with Matrick, considering that. That is very rough. I've been there. I've definitely died to Tomato 1 before.
So Maverick actually posted some videos earlier this week of explaining how to kill Carmine and how he walks on a completely set track. And I had never realized that before, but after watching the videos, I am now much better at fighting Carmine. So Magic will have no difficulty tinking Carmine to death.
Yes. For any of you Link to the Past speedrunners, this is basically like the blind fight. You know, you just have to know where they're going, and once you learn that, you can know exactly how to handle it. It's easy. I don't know where to go, and so I just don't. Oh, and Carmine goes down. Metal flute.
So we get 2 instruments. One of those is going to be, I guess we already got Flute of Lime and Alarm Flute, so that's going to leave Shell Flute and Insect Flute.
Indeed. I just don't. Oh no, the idea of metal flute just sounds so very, you know. I'm just trying to see it on stage with, you know, some sort of death metal band with a metal flute. I'm not even sure how you begin to go about that.
It's a Deathwind instrument. And Matrick finally has the right sword for Rage, and I believe that was what are the You got an Orb of Wind out of there.
Okay. So that makes that wind sword a little bit more powerful and a little more potent, but it's still not one you typically use a ton.
Yeah, as we see here, the with the RO flag, where they don't need the orbs to break the walls, the balls are just a lot harder to find.
Yeah. Night Dew is picking a fight with yours truly. Oh, goes down again. That's right. Booyah. Whereas Matrick is going to pick a fight with a much larger opponent.
I'm a little surprised he didn't go straight for the dolphin to get into Evil Spirit Island.
Does he have everything for that now?
Well, we know he's got the Shell Flute, and maybe he doesn't have the trade-in for the lamp. It might be it, but it could be the statue. We don't know.
It could be. But he's going to go ahead and take out this big insect. It's big, but it's not hard, and it's weak to thunder. Unfortunately, having to wear the hazmat suit means no warrior ring. But that didn't mean a whole lot at this point. Sacred Shield? Not bad.
So, Sacred Shield in this version will actually prevent the Curse Beam that turns you into a slime. So it's actually a pretty nice shield to have. Or you can just go and sell it.
Alright, and Matrick finally making his way over to Mount Saber West. Night 2 getting the bad news that can't get through that wall. I guess, they just high-fived, didn't they?
Yeah, they're both tracking right here.
Yep. Also, another thing that I literally just learned today, you might see them like very quickly checking those walls to see if they can break through them. And the reason they're able to do that is because you can actually, with the randomizer, use a shortcut to switch between swords. Something I wish I had known before today. But it's also a very handy thing if you just want to very quickly switch between the swords and see if one of them works.
Yeah, that's a new feature we just added in the last version. Yep. So yeah, Matrick going back into back door, and looks like Tomato 2 is back on the menu.
looks like Night 2 wants some money and some levels, I guess. He's going out of his way to kill some things. Or it might just be in his way.
Yeah, I can't imagine what he wants to buy, but he might want some levels.
Yeah.
But with the Ember Walls, there's not much he's going to be able to do in Mount Saber. I'm
Yep.
not sure. This is the the bottom entrance, so there's not much he can do. He might be able to go up the slope.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Matrick did find his way, I believe with the fire sword, finally got through that barrier. It was one of those swords he has. And is on his way to fight Mado 2.
So he's navigating the randomized Carmine area, but that's never all that hard because it's just you walk through some doors and eventually you show up at the other side.
Yeah, there's
No
really
items
not
to
a
miss
whole
or
lot
anything.
randomized there. Yeah, all the items are after this. You already saw those. They were before that gate. Most of them surrounding that spike pit area.
Now, if some items were to hypothetically show up somewhere in here, that could make this a little more challenging.
It's true. And you, nice thing about going through the back door is that you get a nice heal and refill of everything before the boss fight. All right. So doesn't look like it was thunder. Doesn't look like it was. Oh.
And fire is the winner.
Yes.
So this fight is completely in logic.
Yeah. You're not required to have magic or anything. So one of the things that Steve is alluding to is that unless you have a specific flag checked, for any of the boss fights in the game, with the exception of Carmine, the game actually expects you to have the bracelet for the sword that the boss is weak against.
Yeah, normally it'll guarantee that that's available to you before you have to fight those bosses, and Carmine is the exception because in the vanilla you only have level 2 Thunder, so we only guarantee level 2 of any sword for Carmine.
It's true. Yeah, and Matrick having some, fun difficulty. Already used one of his opal statues, unfortunately, but is going to pull off the kill here.
So at scaling 34, Mado 2 is definitely a difficult fight.
Yeah. Oh, and actually guarding the Orb of Thunder.
So interestingly, he skipped the check on the Hellway. I guess he's going to go back for it.
I would assume so.
Yeah, there he goes.
Yep.
Except he forgot to hit the button.
Yeah, not sure what's going on there.
Nightdew finding out that he doesn't have the shell flute.
Yep.
I don't know if maybe she, the daughter, gave a hint as to what item he wanted.
Oh, there's that love pendant. So that unlocks the queen. Yet another fetch quest.
Where was it that Matrick found the shell flute?
Oh.
Was that behind Carmine?
Yes, that sounds right.
And there is the Sword of Water. So now it's just the race to kill the bosses and go to the crypt.
So we still need access to Severa, right? We still need to figure out what
That's
that
right.
item is.
You've got to find the fog lamp.
Yes. So we are not quite in go mode, but we are getting very close.
Which could be a statue or who knows what.
Yeah. And there's still some items to be found in Goa Fortress, along with some of those required bosses. Well, actually, I guess Severa is the last required boss because he killed Kelbesk on the way in. And Nightdew finding out that still can't open that door. Yeah. So all of the second round of boss fights are far more intense than the first, as you would expect. But Matrix, a pro, knows what he's doing, and Sabera goes down. And finds the power ring. So you've modified how the power ring works slightly for Randomizer to make it a little bit less insanely overpowered. I know
That's right.
that.
We nerfed it a little bit, although potentially, depending on situations, it actually could be stronger. If you've got an early bracelet and you're not very high level, it can be stronger than vanilla. So in the original game, the power ring would just double your level for extra offensive power. Here we double the sword power instead, and so while your level can get up to 16, the sword power caps out at 8 for a bracelet sword.
Yeah, which, as you said, is still potentially very powerful, especially if you happen to get a go mode early on in the game, which is far more likely in the Swiss flags. Matrick finds the other side of that wall that he couldn't get through earlier, can definitely get through now, having all the swords. That does not help him find these last chests in the Sabera area.
Yeah, he's wandering through the randomized Sabera level, which is one of the hardest randomized levels.
Yep. And Night 2 is now taking on Carmine. And of course, we know, I believe, Carmine, I believe, is weak to water. We found out because obviously it didn't have water spell, but Matrick just used the warrior ring, or water sword rather. So the logic of this really wanted you to go downstairs first, through the back entrance, because you couldn't go through the front entrance without the water sword either, and then come back up here to fight Carmine.
Yeah, so there's definitely some multiple dipping going on here. And that Mimic is still trying.
Well, you don't blame it. It has one role in life, and that is to fool someone into thinking that it's treasure and then biting them. So, you know, you want to, you finally get somebody to come across, you've been sitting there who knows how long. You want to try and bite them. I don't blame it. Yeah, I think the lack of warrior ring has really hampered Knight 2 in some of these fights, where you don't have that same weakness. Oh, that's another. See, that Mimic fulfilled its purpose. It's got to feel good. Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, no. He said it. He said he'd do it, and he did it. I'm not napping.
He's a man of his word.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know. See how he takes on Mado 1, who is also weak to fire. And see which of these boss fights finishes first.
Well, this should be a lot easier for Matrick than Mado 2.
Oh, surely, yes. And what do you know the speeds offhand? Like, because it looked like Mado 2 might have been like nearly twice as fast as Mado 1.
Mado 2 is about twice as fast. I believe it's 3.5 pixels a second and 7 or 8. Unfortunately, Mado needs to be in a 16 direction accessible speed because he can go in any of 16 directions. And there's a giant gap between 3.5 and 8, basically. That nothing can fill. So Mado 2 is a little too fast. We're working on slowing him down, but it's going to be a while.
Okay. All right, Matrick gets that kill and an antidote for his hard work. But more importantly, he got to avenge me, which I'm sure was what he really wanted. And he would have done it no matter what, even if it wasn't required, because why wouldn't you avenge me in a game like this? And Night Dew finally takes down Carmine.
Sounds like there was a was it the Sword of Fire was in the vanilla paralysis spot, which is a tough one because it was recently changed that you have to kill Kelbasque 1 before you can activate that spot. And it sounds like Night Dew actually missed that pickup. Or no, he's got fire. Never mind. I don't know then.
And Matrix's so disappointed that the Queen of the Amazons gave him an opal statue that he just revealed himself right in front of her. He like, fooled you! And the search continues for that fog lamp. Oof. And going to this north spot in the Portoa area. This is not the shortest cave in the world. And with it being randomized, I guess there's a chance it's shorter now. But odds are, yeah. Nope.
So Matrick collecting opal statues.
Indeed. Almost has the full set. I think the final one you have to get from the Time Life subscription.
Well, I think he broke one on one of the bosses, so he's got now 2.
Oh, yeah, he has the full set. Or had. And there's an orb of fire for Matrick. Goes in. Matrick has had Warrior Ring for quite a while. I think he had it well before he got the fire spell, because he was spamming the Sword of Thunder quite early. And the big bug goes down for Night Dew. Finds that sacred shield. I think Matrick might have done the other Portoa cave, didn't he?
I don't know if I saw him go into Crystalis. Crossing a bridge to a dead end. Those are surprisingly common in the randomized maps. You'd think they wouldn't build bridges like that, but, you know, what were they thinking?
And Night 2 talking to the Rabbit and Leaf in order to gain access potentially to Mount Saber North. I believe that's the final step since they have teleport.
Yeah, I believe that's a spot we haven't seen yet, isn't it?
I don't believe we've seen that. Oh, and Flame Bracelet. Matrick now has a fully powered Sword of Fire. Which is the next to best thing to have as you're going through the end game. Obviously, the fully powered Sword of Thunder is what you want the most.
Looks like Matrick heading down to Crystalis at this point.
Okay, so I'm guessing he has not been here then after all.
And Night 2's making his way into Saber North.
Yeah, so definite divergence. Unfortunately, we know that this is not the play that Night 2 needs for the Sword of Fire and Water at this point.
Yeah, so Matrick's just digging around for that fog lamp, I think.
Yeah, and that's basically Night 2's, you know, that's what Night 2 needs to turn this around at this point, is to stumble upon that Although, admittedly, it would probably be a very bad thing in that they probably go straight to, Evil Spirit Island and clear all that out. Which you're going to have to do at some point because you need to kill Sibera for this flag set. But still, there's a difference between being able to go mode that versus trying to find all the treasures.
So it looks like Naito actually wasn't able to get the vanilla paralysis because he hasn't killed Kelbesk yet.
This might have been the thing that actually... I don't remember if Matrick used Warrior Ring for this fight or not. This might be Warrior Ring. Patrick continues to find his way through the cave. Oh, oil
And
lamp.
there is potentially the lamp.
We are in go mode for Matrick.
Well, soon to be go mode.
Oh,
I do picking up the speed boots and the Sword of Fire. So that's definitely a solid pickup right there.
Yep.
Now the oil lamp is not necessarily the item that. Wow, that chest is very interestingly placed. Not necessarily the item that the fisherman wants. It does not have to be a lamp due to randomized trade-ins, but given what we've seen, it likely is.
Right. Yeah. There's not a whole lot left. Point. And of course, you still have to go to Evil Spirit Island and Zombie Town, and then Sibera's Fortress and kill Sibera. But that's it. Before that, you can go on to Dragon 2 and then to the tower. So
the question is, is Magic even going to do this? Well, I guess who knows what the maps look like, but is Magic even going to do the side checks?
Bracelet. That is a nice find. And I do gonna find out that eventually that this is the right sword. And I hope that Mado held some answers, and if not, at least it's a required thing, and as of course also gets to avenge me. Matrick gonna go ahead and clear out everything while he's here, going up that ramp that so 3 ways to get up the ramp in Randomizer. Flight, Rabbit Boots, and Speed Boots are all gonna get you through that. And it's the only way to get up here. But it's just a consumable. It's a magic ring. Not gonna turn that down. And at this point, he's gonna teleport out.
Looks like he's going to trade in the Statue of Gold.
Yep.
I forget what we found out the item for that was.
Did it say something like a Carmine figurine?
So it looks like the oil lamp actually was the glowing lamp, but not the fog lamp.
Uh-oh. Oh, and there's Tornado Bracelet.
There we go.
So we are not in go mode.
Has he gotten the item from Tornell?
I think he did.
So Tornell, of course, requires a random bracelet, not necessarily Tornado Bracelet in this randomized trade-ins mode. So presumably it was one of the earlier bracelets that he wanted.
Yeah, because I think he is fully loaded on bracelets now, is he not?
I think he might still be missing Flame Bracelet.
No,
the message said Flame Bracelet, but it doesn't actually necessarily mean that.
Oh, okay.
We'd have to change the text to say something like an upgrade or something, fire upgrade. So it still just tells you one or the other.
And there's some Psycho Armor.
But he does have them both, it looks like. So yeah, the one thing he's looking for is how he can get to Evil Spirit Island to kill Zabera.
And Knight 2 gonna open up the front of Goa Fortress now with that Fire Sword, which will lead him to that fight with Jerome Kelbas 2, but then he's gonna find out the bad news that he still doesn't have access to the right way to progress.
Now it's at this point that, as a developer, I'm starting to get a little nervous myself, and hoping that this is the risk of playing with experimental and new versions. That it's possible that the Dolphin, the Fog Lamp, may be in Evil Spirit Island, and that would be an unwinnable seed, which would be very disappointing.
I can't say I hadn't thought that. I was going to leave that to you though. So there's still plenty of places to. Okay, not plenty of places. There's still a few places left.
Well, we do see a scaling of 46 on Magic, which means he's, I think, only got 4 unique items to go.
Yeah, that's not many. And there's a lot of checks, and we've seen a lot of items, consumables already. But I don't think he has a full set of the secondary helper items yet. I think there's still a couple of different holes in that. No,
there's the one.
7 of. Okay.
It looks like he has some ideas in mind, though, or else he's just grinding while he thinks. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
I think they haven't cured Kensu Slime yet. Slimy Kensu.
That's true.
And they haven't been able to then trade in get Brokohana's item. But, if Ivory Statue's buried in Evil Spirit Island, that would be why.
Yeah.
So there's potentially not much they can do.
And Matrick is out of Opal statues, has taken a death.
Wow, he used up all 3 of them.
He might have sold some of them.
They are worth a lot of cash, but he doesn't want to buy that much.
Yeah, and they're very valuable to have otherwise, so yeah. Knight Dew still wandering around this first floor of Goa Fortress. This is a tricky path to find, even in vanilla. I still sometimes forget. I think he just found the right way, though.
Yeah, there are some tricks to finding it a little more efficiently than completely random, but it's an acquired skill.
Indeed.
So, do you know what Matrick's trying to do here?
I don't offhand.
I feel like I've seen him do the same thing several times. His scaling keeps going up and down, though, so maybe he's trying to escape with an item or something? I don't know.
Well, he died. And I can't help but think that if it had been... Yeah, Psycho Armor was the thing he found before, but then he ended up dying. And I think that he's still looking for items, and I think he thinks that there's at least one more chest left.
Well, so there's 2 chests buried in the earlier parts of Mount Saber North. I'm not sure how many they've gotten.
Yeah.
Part of these maps.
Exactly.
Kailadan finishing off, or sorry, Naidu finishing off Kelbas 2, getting his refresh.
Yep. And is about to then hit that wall, literal wall. He's getting ready. He's gonna run. And he's getting... no, I guess a little... No, there's the bad
Head first into the wall.
Yep. Right away. He's like, are you kidding me? And we'll see if he thinks to go through the back door. He just wants to shoot it a lot. I think he's getting some frustration out right there. And he chose Goa. Not really sure what Matrick is doing. Definitely seems.
My guess is he's DMing me in Discord telling me he's checked every single check.
I was wondering if he might be messaging. I did check the SRL channel. And he's going back over to the 60 Mount Hydra area. And he's going to check to see if maybe he left something behind over here in Mount Hydra. And there's a lot of places they checked early in this game, quite thoroughly, without the right swords to break everything.
Yeah, so maybe they need to come back and pick up a chest they couldn't find.
Yeah, just one of those one-off walls that was behind a water or a fire door or something like that. You just got to think that it's something like that at this point. If the game's not broken. I've definitely been there before. And
That being the path up to the Boa Sun, vanilla.
Yep. And which we found that earlier. I remember that being, I think, a medical herb. Did they ever go back to the Oasis basement for that other back door?
Oh, I don't think they have. That could be it.
That could be it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we would name it now. It's both of them missing it.
Yeah.
Although I think Night2 still got some progression he could find.
Yeah, no, I think they both checked it, and it was, before they had the right sword. Oh, Night2 finally finds that warrior ring. That's where it was.
Which cave even is this? Oh, it's in Saber North.
Yeah.
Potentially Matrick is maybe realizing that he hasn't checked the power ring spot.
Yeah. He's thinking about what he hasn't checked and found yet. If I figured this out before Matrick, you know there's going to be a little bit of rubbing it in, right?
Oh, there's gotta be.
Yeah. And I am completely neutral in this race, and who wins or loses? Oh, Night2.
But unfortunately, I don't think. I mean, it could be sort of fire. No, he's just going on the back way for a Goa.
Yeah, because he needs to do this in order to get to water and all that. So it's progression for him. He's going in the right direction and is going to be able to clear out the rest of Goa Fortress. Definitively needed for him. Matrick starting at the beginning. Oh, did he ever actually wake up the guard? No, he's not going there.
Yeah, he doesn't have the flute left in his inventory, so he must have used it twice.
Yep. So yeah, he's just gonna check in this front vampire cave and see if maybe one of these barriers back here is something that he just never broke through because they were here pretty early in the game.
Oh, I didn't realize that, Tornell. I guess Matrick can have it now if this is what, I mean, it's my last best hope.
Mm-hmm.
With the story mode flags on, there's actually a lot of required items in this mode.
Indeed.
Especially now that Evil Spirit is blocked on having the dolphin.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the fun things when you know, got more tournament matches. Got tournament matches coming up in the near future. You can see these Swiss flags. It's not story mode for those. The flags are not quite as complicated as these, and the goal is just to find the 3 bows, and in flight is needed in order to be able to get to Dragon 2, and you need a sword in order to kill him, which you have from the beginning. Some of those seeds in the right hands have gone as fast as like just over 30 minutes, but average is somewhere in the hour and a half range. Obviously at this point we're already at an hour and a half in. There's a lot more going on here. Oh, I think Matrick.
This might be it.
This
We
might
can,
be it.
Hold our breath on this one.
Yeah,
I certainly will be.
I know that you are.
Yeah, it looks like Matrick's probably kicking himself right now.
Yeah. The good news is for Matrick is that if this is indeed the case, which and it has to be, still has the lead.
Yeah, I'm pretty hopeful. I did already fix this bug once. The first time we made Dolphin required, I did not account for it in logic, and so this is of course why we do testing.
The Dragon figurine!
Yeah, that has got to be what the Fishman wants, and we're gonna go immediately find out.
Unless it's what we need to de-slime Kenzu, or...
That is not, actually, that would be a possibility, but we already know that's the Carissa plant.
Oh, we do? Okay. Oh, there we go. There you are. You can breathe now. Ah. All right. Let's get ready to dolphin. Yep.
All right, our flippered friend.
Yes. Although, the flippered friend has loved to troll me lately. In the last couple of seeds I've run, whenever I use a medical herb to heal the dolphin will love to reward me with a medical herb. I'm like, you couldn't have just done that yourself.
Well, he doesn't have hands.
Yeah, but still. I know, we went through this on Discord as well, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would call this a dolphin percent Gozen.
Yeah. And
just the different form of
the
it.
sort of water finally.
There we go. Now he's unlocking some stuff.
Yeah. It's got to feel both good and frustrating. Knight knows exactly what kind of matchup he's got with Matrick, and finding the last required sword at 137 in the seed probably doesn't feel great. Especially knowing that you're still not actually in go mode. Alright, taking on Nightzu taking on Sabera 2, and Matrick continuing to wander through these caves.
Thanks for the links, Mr. Spokes. Definitely check it out if you're interested. These flags are not the standard way to play. There's a lot of much more accessible ways if this seems particularly ridiculous to you.
Yeah, so I'd say compare this. I compare this a lot to probably like the Zelda 1 randomizer that Fred Coughlin put together, in the amount of like scalability of how much you can change and how much challenge you're looking for. You can get pretty crazy with these flags, or you can do something that's, vanilla-ish. Night Dew takes down Sabera, whereas Matrick is just now fighting that vampire. Vampire number 2. This is where the second vampire is. Not much of a fight.
Not going to bother looking for the Tink sword. There's one sword that tinks out the vampire, but since it's randomized, he's not sure which. And that actually makes it easier. This is the one place you really want to tink.
Indeed. And finds that Carissa plant that we need, but I don't think that's ever going to be cashed in at this point. Excuse me. Goodness.
Now, Matrick just needs to take out Sabera, and then he's in go mode. Now, this trick I can never do, standing above her. Every time I try it, I get bopped.
Yeah, what didn't really work out fully for Matrick at this point. Unfortunately, it takes a death.
Fortunately, there's a checkpoint right in that room.
Yes. It's actually pretty common for a lot of the bosses in this to have a checkpoint right before them.
Yeah, it's just Kelbeska's pretty far from the checkpoints, it turns out.
Yeah, but typically you've just come from the prison and it's not that far away. You don't have to start. You never have to start at the beginning of a level and go all the way through it again.
Goa 1 would be the closest to that.
That's true.
And there's that water wall he couldn't get through in the first place.
Yeah, that Kelbas.
Take it out for spite.
Yeah, and going go mode at an hour 40 in, Matrick will literally be trying to fly to the end of the seat at this point. Probably feels pretty behind at this point, not knowing, of course, that that's not the case.
Yeah, I might have said a little bit ago that he might have guessed that, but at this point, it could be anybody's game in his mind.
It's true. This is interesting as well. I can say this. I actually was in Matrick's channel earlier today. He was running some practice seeds for the Swiss. She got two fairly easy seeds and ended up in the tower at level 6. Matrick is an accomplished runner who can absolutely beat the game at level 6. But today, that didn't happen. So I wasn't terribly surprised to see him stop for just a second and get one extra level real quick. He was very close.
Well, he's still got the dream of the level 1 challenge. Has not quite made that happen yet.
That's a lot of enemies to not kill to make that happen.
That's right. You only kill the bosses.
Only the bosses?
Well, actually, it used to be the bosses didn't give experience, but I finally fixed that bug, and so actually, you'd have to have a special flag, I guess, to do level 1 challenge now for real.
And honestly, you could probably just put in a flag that says you don't raise levels if you want.
That's right. And sometimes I do that just for Matrick. He asks nicely.
Yep. Oh, and that wasn't even his final form. Ladies and gentlemen, the true form of Emperor Draco.
Of course, at the level Matrick's at, this should be a piece of cake fight. I think he's got basically every item he could ever want.
Yep.
And he chooses to use Fire 3.
Yep, Fire 3 is going to get to 2 good shots off. The only time you can damage this boss is when his chest is open, he's firing those lasers. Which he does every time, if not almost every time, after he does this move.
Every time.
Every time after that move, and sometimes before that, typically when I'm not playing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what triggers the fast lasers.
Yeah.
But we have learned how to manipulate him quite a bit, which is nice.
Yes, I know how to wait on him. And very fortunate that that barrier spell also blocks that shot that would otherwise turn you into a slime, in which case you're just kind of stuck.
Now, what it doesn't block is the lasers, most of the time in my experience.
Mm-hmm. And Matrick must think he's pretty close. He's not even using a ring. He's just gonna... Oh, he got caught. Oh, he got caught bad.
That's
Oof.
what I'm talking about.
Yep, just like that.
Those lasers are ruthless, unforgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right, Gru. Spoiler alert. But it's more. He has more secrets still.
Yes.
Yeah, as
And
Mr.
here
Spokes
we
in
go.
chat points out, we do have a number of what we call the full stupid flags that if you really want to torture yourself, you can play with them. I, for one, never will.
I can't imagine I ever would unless it was for charity and I had a lot of time. Oh, and Dragon goes down.
There's a bird at the end of that corridor for a night dew, and there's another bird.
See, it always bothers me. Like, we call both of them Bert when there's two of them, and why can't one of them be Ernie?
Oh no, they're spelled differently. It's okay.
Okay. I feel much better. And Matrick has now entered the tower. So there's going to be sets of these small golden robots that you have to kill. And then when those are dead, that's going to trigger the white robots to appear and be killable. And once you kill those, you can move to the next floor. And you have to do that for 3 floors. Meanwhile, you are also being bombarded by these sentries that are annoying. And then the most evil drone helicopters in the history of ever. And Night Dew has made it through Goa Fortress at this point. But does not yet have that Dragonia figure. And so now we get to find out how long it's going to take before they figure out where that is. And they're making the obvious place first. They're going to go after these 2 caves over in the Portoa area that wouldn't be unlocked earlier. Meanwhile, Matrick, especially
Not
when they...
switching to Power Ring though. There we go. So I'm certainly no speedrunner, but from the timing or the trials I've done, I think Warrior Ring at the beginning and then Power Ring for the white robots is the way to go.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Of course, Power Ring's pretty nice too with the lag lightning. Answering chat, Night Dew is missing the Fog Lamp trade-in, which is, in this game, the Dragonia statue, found in the Power Ring spot. The Axe slash Matrix slash who knows who spot at this point. They've been there a few times, but never had the sword to get through to it. So Matrick now combining his 4 swords, which he was required to have by story mode, getting Crystalis, and he's going to go in and fight the slightly buffed Dinah, which should be no problem for him with what he's got.
Indeed. Oh, he's not even going to take care of the sentries. He is going straight for the heart.
Well, when you've got barrier, there is still this safe spot which we need to do something about.
can always make some of these shots go through barrier.
Well, the counter shots do.
Yeah, that's true.
At least they're supposed to. As does the central laser. But they just not quite have enough directions to go through. And this is...
Time.
So Matrix is finished with an official SRL time of 1:48. 41.
Indeed. GG to Matrick. And sure we'll get him in here to chat about this seed and all the fun and potential heart attack of that last item. And switch the audio over to Night 2, who is also searching. I found that flame bracelet is basically going in the same path that Matrick did, only, what, 15 minutes later? Something like that.
What was this seed?
That
Well,
was that.
you rolled this one.
This is true.
And you chose the flags.
That water sword. Why? The whole seed was locked behind that water sword. I can't even believe that. I spent forever checking every single possible location going, I don't want to go through Mado right there. I don't want to go through Mado. You had to go through Mado.
Well,
Well,
I
let me
can
tell
feel
you.
your pain about Mado. But,
You just about gave me a heart attack with that fog lamp.
Oh, dude. I was so... When I was sitting there, and I kept going to places and like, wait, maybe I forgot this. Oh, man, I'm an idiot. I totally forgot this. Wait a second. No, I must have forgot this. And then I was sitting there, and I was like, Oh my god, I orphaned the Oasis Cave. Because it was a water sword thing, and I could not... I checked it way earlier, and of course, it was waterlocked.
Yeah, we had just probably like 3 minutes before you figured it out. And so, because like we were sitting here thinking, talking about possibility of the sea is like, maybe it's not beatable.
Well, that's
But,
what happens when you play on semi-experimental brand new features.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not on experimental, but it is on latest, and latest, this logic is actually relatively new.
Yeah, it is pretty. And because we've been doing so much tournament, we haven't been testing it quite as much.
Right. So, where is Knight?
Knight just picked up oil lamp, and we'll find out the bad news that oil lamp is not what they think it is.
He thinks that's what it is, huh? Is he
And
going back to Portoa? I gotta get on the road.
yeah, and then just used it. And Dragon figurine finds out now. So I think he's still doing some of the saber checks. And so has not quite gotten back to that orphaned cave either. But he did go over there and see and tried to get into it as well, and saw that it was not accessible without, of course, the Sword of Unlocking, also known as Sword of Water.
Yeah, this had some... This was actually a fun seed, all in all. It just had some... It had some crazy logic to it.
It did. Yeah.
It sent you everywhere. Like, it gave you a ton of stuff to go, but it just didn't open anything. Every time you went somewhere, there was nothing there.
Yeah, a couple of different times where the thing that would have been very handy to use against a boss was right behind it.
Well, that's hard mode flags for you right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that has watched any of the other tournament races so far would have been able to tell pretty quickly how much more open this seed was and how it doesn't front load a lot of the equipment. Because in the tournament flags, it really tends to front load a ton of the equipment, especially the swords, and the swords, balls, and bracelets tend to be very front loaded, and that's because the logic requires that those things are there. Whereas in this, where we throw all that logic out the door, now the game goes, okay, well, we can bury those pretty much wherever we want. And it did.
It really did. And you
No, you
found
think
them all
naively that
because you went everywhere, man.
I orphaned exactly 3 chests. And all 3 of them were in Evil Spirit Island because I went, why? There's no reason to check these.
Yep. To answer chat real quick, Killing Woods, yes, you do need to be max level to get to a lot of these places late in the game. The randomizer basically strips a lot of the requirements for levels away. Levels will get you extra power. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that levels really provide you with in this game is damage output and the ability to break through monsters' defense. Oh, it looks like Knight may have figured out what he missed.
Yeah, I think he's getting there faster than you did, as far as, like, amount of checks left.
Nope, never mind.
Never mind.
Oh, you know what he's doing?
So far.
Oh, he's going to check Kensu, because Arillis, you know what, that's another check I didn't make, but Arillis gave you the Crease plant, I think it was. Yeah, this had some...
You got that on the island.
I might have. Did I?
You did. You got it on the island. They're using the wrong statue.
Oh, no, he's got the Carmine figure, and that's the, that's your golden statue for those. So he's scratching his head now.
Mm-hmm.
No,
yeah, he got it from fixing the
teleport.
broken one, but
Stay there.
I guess he didn't realize that one's not actually randomized.
Yeah, that's very possible.
I mean, I remember when you did that the first time, and you got the gosh, was it the magic figurine?
Oh, that's exactly right.
Oh, you got a figurine of yourself? Oh.
Yes.
Well, and so he assumed it must be the ivory statue because Matrix avatar is a slime.
Yeah, no, that's right, because what I did is I was like, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, to have a statue of me cure the slime. That would be the greatest thing ever. Not knowing that the glowing lamp and the broken statue always become the statue. But that was, I think, the very first time I played with the randomized, or the unidentified key items on.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a few other names for people in the community at this point. It's fun.
Did did you notice when I kind of hung around on screen for a few minutes there in the crypt next to that flail guy? A few seconds in the crypt, where there was a flail guy that had a beautiful sprite.
Oh yeah, we noticed that.
I hung out and shot at him a few times, like, "Hey, look at that one right there."
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were going to ask about a few seconds extra you stayed around Shiren, and I just really appreciate you stopping to talk to me.
Oh, hey, you know what? Like I told you before, I'm going to make sure you got maximum screen time. That's all.
It's so appreciated. Yeah, dead serious about that too.
Yeah, dead serious. Yeah. Dead.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, you certainly made sure of that.
Okay, I also lost all of my opal statues to stupid regular enemies, and I kept running my face into everything with speed boots at light speed, because the monsters, they kept appearing on screen and then moving down faster than I could actually, react to them. And oh, hi, Bert. I never saw that. Oh, wow, double Bert.
Yeah, Bert, and I've been told differently spelled Bert, not Ernie.
No, it's Bert and his brother Bert. Bert with a U and Bert with an E is his brother.
Okay.
It looks like
hanging
Night
out
Dude is
together in
still
the
kind of
cave.
not quite sure what he's left behind.
I don't blame him, because that
Yeah.
check was so early in the game. It took me forever. I mean, I had to actually sit there, and I was actually sitting here going through every single location in my head, going, I got this, I got that, I got that, I got that, I got that. And that's when I finally processed of an elimination it out.
Well, this is just telling me that next time I try to play randomized maps and elements and everything else, I better just use that map tracker, even though if I don't use it normally.
I mean, this is one of the few cases where it would make that difference.
Yeah, no, just having that randomized walls, and it's not like every single iron gate takes the same thing. Just having it be completely random, the tracker just being able to track that, yeah, that's going to be helpful. Be able to track those chests that way. Night Dew fighting his way through Mount Tabor. We know is not the right place to be. And now Night Dew's like, yeah.
Yeah, he all he needs to do is go back to Oasis Cave. That's all I needed to do 25 minutes ago.
Yeah, so really, just for your benefit, to understand probably where that gap in time came from, you found that warrior ring pretty early on. Night Dew found it fairly late. And so for some of those bosses that, especially taking on without the weaknesses, without the right sword, yeah, you were able to spam and get through those pretty quickly. Night Dew faced a lot of really long boss fights.
Yeah, especially if he tried to tank Carmine. I just wasn't going to bother with it. I wasn't going back. I was like, no, I'm killing him now.
Yeah, so I think Night Dew fought Carmine, Mado 1, and Kelbesk, all without Warrior Ring, and without a sword that was good for them.
Ew.
Yeah, I think he took a few tries on each of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Night Dew is now realizing that can't fly in to that Evil Spirit Island cave and these flag sets, that you have to have the dolphin. And we're at the 2-hour mark, and I don't know, unfortunately I got logged out of SRL chat, so I don't know if he's considering...
Oh, he
Yeah, it looks like he just did.
killed it.
Okay.
He finally killed it. Yeah, he's gonna kick himself.
Yeah, he is. Alright, it's unfortunate, but 2 hours is about how much we had allocated for this, and so, it's how it goes sometimes.
Hey, you know what? It was cool of Night Dew to jump up and, offer to do this. Considering, I still have not heard from Kailadan. I hope everything's okay. I have no idea what's going on with him. But, like I said, we hope everything's all right. That, it was just some kind of a lapse of memory or something of that nature, and not something more serious.
Absolutely. All hoping the same thing. So hopefully we can get Night Dew in here real quick. I don't know if he's accepted or declined.
Yeah, I'm sure it's more just waiting for SpeedGaming, but... That's pretty much what... I mean, it took a few minutes for the bot to get to me, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's a hard-working bot. Cut him some slack.
Oh, absolutely I will. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Trying to remember some of the early part of this seed. I know that you guys got...
So,
the early part of this.
Here's something that happened at the beginning. I used the new glitch.
Oh, that's right. You did use that new glitch, the one that was found recently.
And it paid off amazingly, too. Cut nothing but 2 consumables for my effort.
So take us through that glitch again.
Okay, so Steve the other day, he was testing something, and he apparently set his controller down after getting pushed out of the place with rage, and a flyer came up and bopped him and pushed him at an angle, and so when rage pushes you down, he didn't kick you off the screen.
Yeah, I looked up at the screen, and next thing I know, I'm standing there, and I'm like, what am I doing over here? How did I get here?
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that allowed you to fly in and talk to Medea. All right, looks like we have Night Dew in the setup area.
Yeah, so essentially the way that glitch works is that it only allows you to get in there to talk to Medea if you happen to either have access to Sword of Water and Rage doesn't want it, or if you have flight to just fly right over the water. So as soon as I got flight and I knew that I didn't have the right sword, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to hope there's a flyer in this area. And sure enough, hey!
Yeah, it didn't take long. And yeah, welcome, Night Dew.
All right, so what did I miss?
You forgot to go back to the Oasis Cave to get this power ring.
Oh my god, it was power ring. I checked it with 3 swords even.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes 2 of us.
Yeah, those randomized walls are unforgiving.
Yes, they are.
Especially
so
when
that ended up being basically a last location for Matrick even. So yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of wandering around for about 20 minutes trying to figure out what he left behind too.
I couldn't believe it.
It was definitely interesting. The one thing I really kicked myself for is assuming that the wall in Leaf Cave was the same as the ones in West Hydra. That is not the case, and I don't know how long I put off Saber North because, hey, I thought I didn't have the sword for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think maybe they're supposed to be the same. I'll have to think about that one.
Oh, you mean Saber South and
Yeah,
Zebu?
Saber South, yeah. Zebu,
Yes.
yeah, those did not.
They don't match.
I definitely put that off. I think I was close in the first tank fight against Mado 1.
Yeah.
Oh god, you tinked Mado 1?
I almost tanked Mado 1. I tanked Carmine too, but...
Yes, well, I did that one as well.
Yeah.
But we were just talking this. There was basically kind of 2 stories of the seed. One we got to and one we haven't. One was that Matrick ended up finding that warrior ring much earlier than you did, Night 2, making a lot of those tank fights and just overall a lot of that fighting much faster for him. The one thing that worked in your favor early on is that you actually went into the 60 area much earlier. Breaking your way through to find the barrier and all that stuff back there. There was a point when you had done that where we actually thought that you might have had a good shot at getting ahead. Unfortunately, between the fire sword and water sword just hiding like crazy, just didn't quite work out.
Water was beautiful.
The water was very beautiful. No, I was actually very hyped to see barrier where it was there. I'm thinking, okay, I want to get into Stixie. I found the mirror shield. I'm like, okay, that's good enough in terms of defense. We'll get a couple herbs. We can break into there. I mean, we knew it wasn't guaranteed anyway, and barrier and recover being in chests right there. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. That's going to get me Carmine. Easy. And I think it was what kind of got me to try that whole tank on Mado 1. That warrior ring might have been so much better for it.
Yeah, that's a big oof.
Well, I wouldn't think a boss, but I especially wouldn't think a boss without warrior ring.
I mean, I'll do it for Carmine if it's early enough in. Outside of him, forget it. You know what? I can do it on Kelbesk too, because you can stab him. He's not that bad. But yeah, most of the others, no. Especially not Mado. I don't want to fight him without a bracelet. I don't care what scaling I'm at, let alone have to do it in a tank setting. Get out. I don't want that. I will do a lot of stupid things. I won't do that.
That much is
I
certain.
would not have tried it had I had Sword of Thunder at least. I would not have tried it with a basic one-shot sword.
Well, he was weak to fire both times.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the only boss that was weak to water was was Carmine. Carmine was the only one of the generals that was weak to water. And then he didn't even guard anything. He
The
sucked.
maddening thing is, did you try to front door before you tried to back door?
Oh, I sure did. Yeah, I went all the way through and I killed Calbask, and I was like, sweet, I'm making progress here.
Yeah.
And then I ran into the water wall and I went, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, that was a great wall right there.
Uh-huh.
It was right in your face too. You walked in, walked around the corner, it was like, hey, I'm here. You're just turn around.
You're done. Turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no way around that. I loved it. It was awesome. That is map shuffle for you right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of our
Beautiful.
curiosities early on, actually, Matrick, is that I don't believe that you actually tried the backdoor wall after clearing out all the chests in the Conran area.
No, I didn't, because I didn't want to go to Mado. Like, no, we'll come back. The other thing I did that you probably may not have realized what I actually did is after opening the windmill cave, I walked outside and immediately wild warped. And then when I walked back up, the cave is still not open, but it's when you get there, it plays the explosion again, and then the item is available right then. So you basically can save yourself that time and not have to watch that and not have to walk that direction. You can just wild warp and go back, which is faster.
Oh, okay.
So it turns out to be doubly fast. You know, I got the idea from Dragon Dark the other day when I watched him do it, and I said, "Oh, I never thought to do that." But then he waited for the wall to explode. He's like, "Yeah, I've never been brave enough to check it." So earlier today, I said to myself, "All right, I'm gonna check this and just see if it works." And sure enough, it works. I also showed off a new glitch. You'll have to go and check it out at some point, Night 2.
Yeah.
It's a rage glitch. So if you go back,
I heard you talking about it right before I got in there, but
yeah, it's a new rage glitch. It was an accidental find, but a very specific use, which I was actually able to make use of today, even if it didn't lead to anything.
If there was anything
too
for you there.
yeah.
It was a double consumable after going to rage.
Oh yeah, I was thinking, okay, that was like one of my whole things where I'm like just going through my head, like, what do I have? I'm like, oh yeah, I've got rage, and that's gonna give me that other stuff. It's like consumables for everything.
Yeah.
No
good
water for
stuff.
you because everything is still water blocked.
Yeah, I think there were 5 water blocked areas. You had Fog Lamp, you had Carissa Plant, you had Mount Saber North, you had Mount Saber South, and you had Goa Front Door. That's
Yeah.
5 areas that were waterlogged. Stupid water sword being behind Mado 2. Oh well.
Yeah. Any final thoughts from our racers besides stupid water sword behind Mado 2?
Hey, thanks for stepping up, Knight.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Despite me like bowing out just because I know I had gone to that Oasis cave 3 times already with each sword trying to bust into that door, and I just forgot about it when water popped up. No, it was extremely fun, and I don't regret anything I did that seed, even the tank fight against Mado 1.
Pog.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Night 2, for stepping in and showing off this exhibition, Matrick as well.
Yeah, thanks to
Steve?
SpeedGaming for accommodating our change of plans at the last minute.
Yes, thank you so much, Speed Gaming Network. Thank you to Steve for not only commentating with me, but also doing the tracking and by the way, making most of this randomizer.
It's a
All
pleasure.
of it.
Yes.
All of it.
All of it, indeed. So on the schedule right now, we do have more well, I shouldn't say more. Randomizer actual tournament schedule matches coming up this weekend. We've got our very own Steve Hacks versus Sho Fukumachi tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern.
I can tell you we've both been practicing a lot for that one this week, so it should be a good match.
Indeed.
It's
I'm
6
not
o'clock
sure...
Eastern tomorrow.
Yes. I don't know if we have a channel for that yet. So
I'm sure I'll get scheduled in the morning.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. And then I know Sunday, Gozengata versus Cross Product at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Should be a fun one, especially because I believe that Matrick and Dragon Dark are doing commentary for that. That alone should be worth a listen.
And that'll round out our first round of Swiss tournament.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be on comms for both of those, so we're gonna have some fun over the next couple days.
I'm only gonna get VODs, but I am definitely happy to take a look at those after they have run.
Yeah, same for me on tomorrow. All right, thank you so much for checking this out, and hope to see you guys come back and check out the tournament as it moves forward. This should be a lot of fun, and this randomizer is just going to keep on growing from here. I am DH Dom. Thank you so much, and have a good night.